Republicans in the House of Representatives achieved their goal of passing Donald Trump's jam-packed, multi-trillion-dollar spending package this week ahead of their self-imposed deadline of Memorial Day weekend. Their work's not nearly done. There are plenty of hurdles ahead, including getting it through the Senate. But Trump's big, beautiful bill, which is what it's really called, is revealing a key piece of a broader second-term economic policy agenda that's objectively bad for working Americans, and particularly for some of Trump's most loyal voting blocs, like rural Americans and farmers. For one thing, it contains one of the largest cuts ever to Medicaid, the federal health care program for low-income individuals with people with disabilities. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects that the current version of the bill could lead to upward of $700 billion in Medicaid cuts. It also estimates that over the next 10 years, 8.6 million people could lose health care coverage as a result of these changes, including the implementation of stricter work requirements. But it's not just about those initial numbers. There are knock-on effects to stripping millions of people's health care coverage. Medicaid funding cuts on this scale will likely negatively affect rural hospitals, which are more likely to rely on government health care spending. And here's the thing. Many of those rural hospitals are already in dire financial straits. According to a recent report by the Center for Health Care Quality and Payment Reform, quote, more than 700 rural hospitals, one-third of all rural hospitals in the country, are at risk of closing because of serious financial problems that they are experiencing. Over 300 of these rural hospitals are at immediate risk of closing because of the severity of their financial problems, end quote. The Republicans' Medicaid cuts would undoubtedly add to those problems. And if those hospitals are forced to close, it could cause a rural unemployment crisis because of hospitals' key role as employers. The Trump spending bill also calls for major cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, which is the federal food aid program for low-income Americans. The bill cuts SNAP's funding by about $290 billion, in addition to other changes that could lead to 3.2 million people getting kicked off the program, according to the CBO. But SNAP doesn't just keep millions of Americans from going hungry. It benefits farmers, too. The program boosts the agricultural industry by increasing demand for domestically grown and cultivated food, which helps to create and maintain jobs in the rural economy of field workers, farmhands, grocers, and truck drivers, and so on. These are all people and jobs that have a lot at stake if SNAP is cut. It would also make farmers more dependent on government subsidies rather than sustaining their own business. And by the way, I haven't even mentioned tariffs yet. President Trump just said yesterday that he's imposing a 50% tariff on all imports from the European Union starting June 1st, which could worsen America's trade war with the EU, which was previously announced and then suspended. The EU had already put retaliatory tariffs on U.S. corn and soybean imports. As one executive for an export trade group for farmers explained to CNBC recently, Trump's tariffs aren't just the prelude to a bigger problem. It's already a full-blown crisis. After a break, I'm going to talk about this with the former Democratic Senator Jon Tester, who happens to be a lifelong farmer. Before the break, I told you about how Trump's economic policies are particularly hurting America's farmers. The former Democratic Senator Jon Tester of Montana knows firsthand what working Americans like farmers are up against, because for the last 50 years, he's been farming the same land that his grandparents homesteaded in Montana. I spoke to Tester earlier this morning. Here's our discussion. Senator, it's good to see you again. Welcome.
Great to be here with you. Thank you very much. And look, Ellie, I think you laid it out very, very well. The only thing I would add to the healthcare discussion is if these hospitals close in rural America, that means you got to drive long distances to get your healthcare. That means you're not going to be able to live in rural America. And it will further deplete the population in rural America. You'll see even a bigger mass exodus. So this is bad on so many fronts. Access to health care is, I'd say if you're over the age of 50, if you don't have access to health care, you got to move somewhere where you can get access to health care. And if these hospitals close, that access closes too.
Yes, remember, because doctors and nurses and EMTs are in short supply all over the country. They'll leave. They'll get jobs somewhere else. You'll hollow out that base. You'll hollow out the base of people who spend their money in the communities. And then there's this problem that you may have never touched Medicaid in your life. But if the hospital and the health care disappears, you're just going to have to move to follow it. A very, very important point for people who are not on Medicaid, that Medicaid losses affect you. Let's talk about farming for a second. The trade war, and we can go back to 2018 and remember when this happened with the Chinese, and then they stopped buying a lot of American products like soybeans. This is a big issue. America is a net exporter of food, right? It's not Donald Trump's obsessed with trade deficits. We do not have a trade deficit in agriculture. We really do feed a lot of the world. They buy our stuff. This is a very dangerous thing to mess with.
And we raise more food than what this country eats. So those foreign markets are really important. And if the president continues with what he's doing in this tariff, this trade war game that he's playing, we'll lose those markets. And I think we've lost some of them already. And we lose those markets. That affects the price at the farm gate. And then what turns around is that we have to depend upon the taxpayer for subsidies to make the books balance. It's just wrong on all sorts of fronts. It's instead of dealing with the issue, and there's a lot of issues in production agriculture right now, whether it's a consolidated marketplace with not a lot of folks that are in the buying end of things, so you don't have the kind of competition you need in your marketplace, or whether it's a trade war that's going to affect our foreign markets. It has negative impacts all the way around. And I will tell you this reconciliation bill that the House just passed has a kind of a farm bill in it. It doesn't deal with the issues. It puts a Band-Aid over the issues in production agriculture, just like it puts a Band-Aid over our national debt, by the way, by increasing our national debt while cutting services like Medicaid and SNAP and other things that you've talked about. So I hope the Senate takes a look at this bill for what it is, because it is a piece of garbage.
Yeah,
and rework it, make it work for America.
And it's going to have some trouble in the Senate. Fortunately, there are some people who live in the world of agriculture, or at least are exposed to the world of agriculture in the Senate. But you mentioned the Farm Bill. Like, a lot of people don't pay attention to the Farm Bill, but that's actually where SNAP is funded. Even the USAID funding, which, again, a lot of Americans don't encounter. They don't know what it's for. A lot of that food is provided by America's farms. So in the last 120 days or whatever, however many days Donald Trump's been the president, somebody can give me a proper count. We have done a lot of things that cause the price of food by an American farmer to either go down or the costs to increase.
That's correct. And there's just no doubt with the tariff situation the way it is right now, that it's going to affect the markets in a negative way. And like I said before, what I think this administration expects to do is just cut checks, taxpayer checks, to the farmers to keep them in business, which, by the way, will be necessary if the markets are destroyed.
Ironically, farmers responded well to that in 2019. They feel like Donald Trump saved them from a problem that Donald Trump created.
Well, ultimately, in the end, I think most farmers want us to get their check from the marketplace. And I will tell you this, as my folks told me when we took the farm over nearly 50 years ago, you never want to depend upon the government, because if you do, it can be taken away in any moment in time. Depend on the marketplace. So let's do things to make that marketplace more competitive by putting a competition title in our farm bill, which enforces the antitrust laws that are already on the books and put some teeth into them. We'll get better prices at the farm gate, less ability to have to depend upon the American taxpayer to make our books balance. And fundamentally, if we get a program like that, it will put more people back into rural America. It'll make agriculture a heck of a lot more fun because it'll be profitable.
I think that's a great idea. And it's a concept we should discuss a lot more. And I'd love to have you back on the show to talk about that. Senator, good to see you as always. The former Democratic Senator of Montana, Jon Tester, who is also a working farmer.